Okay, so the Gallup thing is very interesting, guys. Gallup, their track record is very good on predicting the national popular vote by tracking party identification and leaners, right? Like how many identify Republican, how many identify Dem, and then whichever party gets the leaners, it adds to their score. And so just going through the numbers, in 2008, they said the country had, it was +8 on Democratic registrations. Obama won by 7.2. This is put out in a tweet by Eric Doughty, but verified by our staff. 2012 said D+4. Obama won 3.9. 2016, it said D+3. And Clinton did win the national vote, 2.1. So very close. 2020, D+5. Biden won 4.5. And you know what it says in 2024 for the first time in some 20 years? R+3. Amazing. Just to see that Republicans have the edge on the national voter ID right now. And if you go by track record, that would put Trump in a position of not only winning the national vote, but in the case of a Republican who wins the national vote, almost certainly winning the Electoral College. Jim, what do you make of that?
If that comes to pass, and I guess I'd put this in the category of news that is so good for Republicans, my skeptical instinct kicks in.
Right.
I'm almost afraid to believe.
It can't possibly be true.
Yeah. Chalk that up to me being a Jets fan and just seeing when good things happen, something terrible is about to happen the very next moment. But so there's actually two schools of thought about how people identify in terms of their partisan lean. One is if you ask people, which party are you part of? They think of what they're registered with, and they will say, I'm a registered Democrat, I'm a registered Republican, which might be surprising because there are a bunch of people, particularly in the South, less so now than, say, maybe a decade ago, but who were registered Democrats, but who are pretty darn cultural conservative on gun issues, on abortion, things like that. The other one is that people are much more fickle. And if there's a news cycle where the Democrats are looking terrible, then they're more likely to identify as Republicans and vice versa. I think even if it's even, you're looking at that would probably be a Trump victory. If it's Trump by 3, as this Gallup point thinks, well, not only is Trump maybe going to go 7 for 7 in those big swing states that matter. No offense to anybody in these other states, but clearly this election's coming down to Arizona and Nevada, the other Sun Belt states, North Carolina and Georgia, and then the big 3 in the blue wall, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. But if it's really Republicans by 3 on election day, when you count up all the votes, well, then you got to worry about New Hampshire. Then you got to worry about my home state of Virginia. I also noticed this bizarre thing in which in Minnesota, Tim Walz, the Democratic vice presidential nominee, is the governor of Minnesota, and the last 3 polls have Democrats ahead by 5 percentage points. Now that's fine. Everybody kind of expects Minnesota to be a blue state, but Biden and Harris carried the state by 4.5 points. So adding Tim Walz to the ticket added a 0.5 percentage point to the Democratic total. Good call. Good. Hey,
great call.
At least there was nobody else who could have helped Harris in, Pennsylvania or something like that.
Right. Whomever could it have been. The thing about the Gallup number, Charlie, is it's starting to look like it's backed by polling. And of course, a month ago, the polling was very different. A month from now, when we're a lot closer to the election, it could be very different as well. So big asterisks on the discussion. But 1 month out from where were we in late August, we were post-Democratic National Convention. Kamala Harris was still on cloud 9. She had been anointed. She was wonderful. She had no flaws. She had Michelle. She had Barack. She had Bill. She had Hillary. She had Oprah. She had them all. Now where is she? Well, the latest Quinnipiac poll of likely voters shows in a 2-way race, they're tied nationally at 48 in an expanded race, including Stein, these other minor candidates, it's a 1-point Trump lead. Either way, razor thin. I mean, very, very tight, which is good for Trump. I mean, any national number showing Trump even in it, tight, never mind up by 1, has very good implications for the Electoral College. That's Quinnipiac. CNN likely voters in a 4-way race showing Harris up over Trump by 1 point. And so all of this trends kind of neatly with those Gallup numbers I started with What do you make of it?
I think that we spend so much time, myself included, talking about Trump. And when I talk about Trump, it's relatively critical, that we sometimes forget that the Democratic Party is very weird. And also that the Democratic Party is in power. It's in charge of the White House and it's in charge of the Senate. It also exercises a lot of cultural power in other institutions, in academia, in the media, in Hollywood, and increasingly in corporations. And people often react to that. And in a sense, since sort of 2015, 2016, the Trump show has distracted from what's going on with the Democrats. So it is greatly surprising to me to see either a close race at the presidential level or to see those numbers from Gallup. I mean, if you look at the current Democratic coalition, it doesn't make much sense. It might make more sense if you add in that Donald Trump is the nominee. But absent that, it doesn't make much sense. What is the Democratic Party at the moment? It's this very strange coalition of public sector unions and minorities, although less than it used to be, and upper middle class white people and social liberals and people who have PhDs, and their interests and political alliances don't necessarily mesh. And you're beginning to see this, for example, with the Democrats running away pretty hard from raising taxes on 98.1% of the population, which is interesting given they also want to spend a lot of money. So I'm never shocked when I see this and when I see the Republicans doing well despite their problems, because I think the Democratic Party is a massive mess. And I think that when Trump is gone, whether it's because he loses or wins this time around, those contradictions are going to come to the fore, especially if Trump wins, because then you're going to have essentially a 4-year primary. And that 4-year primary is going to have as its heart, what should our positions be on everything, on foreign policy, on Israel, on taxes, on spending, on transgender stuff, on abortion. Perhaps the abortion is a good issue for the Democrats, but there's also a contradiction there, especially with black voters. So it doesn't shock me to see this sort of close election or close number.
You know what? You mentioned your home state of Virginia, the Commonwealth, Jim. And there was a poll out just the other day, University of Mary Washington, polling on Virginia showing it a 2-point race. Kamala 48, Trump 46. Now I realize there'll be other polls that show it a much bigger lead for her there, but that's getting back into the Joe Biden territory numbers where they did the coup to get him out of the race altogether.
I was going to say, beginning of the year, before there was any serious talk, before the debate between Trump and Biden was either barely ahead or, they were running neck and neck. It was, by the way, keep in mind, Virginia, by and large, is a blue state, or purplish blue. We have Governor Glenn Youngkin, who's a Republican, but otherwise very tough for Republicans to win statewide. And I believe the last Republican presidential candidate to carry the state of Virginia was George W. Bush back in like 2000, or 2004. So since the Obama days, I used to joke when I lived in my old neighborhood, which I nicknamed Yuppie Acres, the Obama yard signs came pre-installed with the house. It was just an assumption that,
Wait a minute, this is news. This is news. Are you telling me the reason they refer to your home area as Authenticity Woods right now on the Editor's Podcast is because you used to be in Yuppie, what was it?
Yuppie Acres. Yes, I can tell you that was Alexandria. And that's, but keep in mind, before Alexandria, I lived in the District of Columbia. So people would say, how do you like it? I'm like, whoa, we have way better socialists out here. They're much better about plowing the snow and stuff like that. So let me tell you, when you've lived in D.C., Northern Virginia, that seems like a conservative paradise. Now I'm in Fairfax County, which used to be, I narrowed it down to a county with 1 million people. Authenticity Woods is a corner of Northern Virginia where I would describe it as all the Democratic voters, you can tell they have a Kamala Harris yard sign in their house, in front of their house. And the Donald Trump sign, the Donald Trump voters have nothing on their front lawn because they don't want anyone to know. But they're out there. I think it was about 2-1. And a candidate like Youngkin can split it. But the point where I was going with this is that Biden was on pace to lose Virginia, particularly after the debate. The bottom fell out. There were a whole bunch of Democrats who just clearly, they may not have been ready to jump on the Trump bandwagon, but they just saw Biden as a reanimated corpse that was shuffling around like a zombie, and basically were like, I can't vote for that. With Harris, she's back in the lead, but it's closer. It is not the slam dunk that it looked like it was going to be in the Obama days. And, I think, like I said, there's the big seven, New Hampshire, this state, and maybe one or two others are kind of the next rung on the ladder that Democrats need to worry about. I don't think, the one thing that's got me nervous is the Republican get out the vote effort. The Trump campaign has outsourced it to a bunch of groups, including Charlie Kirk's group. Kind of haven't done this before, and Elon Musk's super PAC. Could work, could be great. Still, I think it's not hard to find Republicans who are like, these guys have not done this before. So that's that one little X factor that still could play out between now and Election Day.
Imagine waking up one day to find out your home no longer belongs to you, that someone somewhere has stolen your property right out from under you. It sounds unthinkable, but it is a sad reality for some American homeowners and a risk for anyone that owns property. House stealing, that's what the FBI calls it. It's a form of real estate fraud where scammers leverage loopholes in the system to fraudulently transfer your home's title into their name. Then they take out loans against your property or even sell it behind your back. By the time you find out, the scammer's long gone, leaving you, the legitimate homeowner, to clean up the mess. But right now, triple lock protection is available through HomeTitleLock.com, offering 24/7 title monitoring, alerts, and restoration services. You can sign up today at HomeTitleLock.com and use promo code Megyn for 30 days of protection for free and a comprehensive title scan to make sure you are not already a victim. That's promo code Megyn and HomeTitleLock.com or by using the link below. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.